Hey there, everybody. It is Wednesday, June 1st, 2022. Welcome to the NFL Fantasy Football Podcast, where we're trying to find a Wednesday alternative to Thirsty Thursday. It's me, your man, MG Marcas Grant, alongside Michael F. Florio. We got producer Randy at the controls, and we have a special guest, because this is what we do this time of year. We bring on other folks, our friends from around the industry, folks that maybe we know from the social media and the interwebs. This is a guy that I've been following his work for a number of years now. We have sort of become internet friends. We've never met face-to-face. Hopefully we can remedy that sometime soon. But we have become internet friends. We even did a couple of one-offs of some nerdy comic book podcasts, too. Maybe we can reboot that at some point in the future. But anyway, you can find him at Yahoo. You can find him writing at Football Guys. You can find him on the internet at T King Mode. You can especially find him on Thursdays when he revives his weekly Thirsty Thursday bit. It is Troy King. Troy, it is nice to have you, man. What's going on, bub?
Well, man, thank you so much for the intro. I'm so excited to be here, potting with you guys on this, platform. Look, it's not Thirsty Thursdays, but it's a good alternative, and I'm ready to kick things off.
When we talked about having you on, Florio suggested maybe we push our recording to Thursday. We normally do Wednesdays. He's like, maybe we record on Thursdays instead, because it just seems perfect to get him in.
Could have had a drink each or something like that, just to fit the occasion.
You get a beverage?
Next time.
So I do have to ask, though. I mean, obviously you didn't create the idea of Thirsty Thursday, but what made you just sort of adopt this as your thing?
It's funny. So me and my friend Linda, I gotta, shout out to her because she hates it, right? So we had a poll, right? Because there's an alternative phrase to thirsty, right? Either you're thirsty for alcohol or you're thirsty, the different version. Mm-hmm. So I put a poll on Twitter and I was like, when you think of the word like Thirsty Thursdays, what do you think of? The poll for alcohol won by a landslide, but there's 18% of people that thought the other thing, or voted for the other thing. And it created all this discourse on Twitter. And I decided, hey, I didn't expect that kind of reaction. And I'm like, you know what? Every Thursday, I'm just going to make this a bit, right? And I didn't think it would last. I started this 2021 January, and then every Thursday just been a thing. I think I skipped one Thursday and people were mad. And I'm like, I just got to make this a thing. So every Thursday, I'm like, guess what day it is? Thirsty Thursdays with the hot emoji, and then it's just a thing now. Again, I can't not do it because people get mad at me. So
I mean, it's awesome, it's hilarious. You even created a theme song for it. I know,
the theme song, a dance.
Yeah, man, you got beats, you got dances. This is a legitimate, fantasy Twitter phenomenon. So shout outs to you for that. So that means I'm sure you got something loaded up for tomorrow. So that'll be fun. Look, this is part of the year where it's a little bit slower. We do have some stuff to talk about. We're going to play some rankings games a little bit later. We're going to have a fantasy draft of things because why not? Because this is a fun thing to do this time of year. We got a few news headlines as well. But we got to start the show with the story that has rocked the fantasy football world to its core. A story that involves competition and drama and even a little bit of physical violence. Chances are you have heard about this by now in Major League Baseball. And look, this works for me because for people who listen to the show, you know that every now and then Florio and I will start the show talking about baseball, either the Dodgers or the Mets or something like that. I know it's not a baseball podcast, but we shoehorn it in because it's my show and that's how I feel like. But this time I have a legitimate reason to talk about baseball at the start of the show because, as you probably know, about a week ago or so, Cincinnati Reds player Tommy Pham was on the field before a game against the San Francisco Giants and went up and slapped Giants outfielder Jock Peterson. Now, at the time, it was sort of a scandal, and nobody knew what happened. Afterwards, we found out that it was over a dispute in a fantasy football league. Pham accused Peterson of cheating, saying he was stashing players unfairly on the injured reserve spot. Weirdly, and Florio knows because I have a text chain with friends who are San Francisco 49ers fans. They all have a little bit of glee that somehow that player is Jeff Wilson, that the player in question is Jeff Wilson. All my 49er fans are somehow amused by that more than anything else. In the interim, Pham served a suspension for assaulting Peterson. Jock immediately had receipts saying he didn't do anything wrong, that he was following the rules of the league, and that Pham was upset because there was some trash talk going down in the chat or the text chain that was going on. Pham was upset because I guess Jock showed a GIF of the Padres collapsing because they fell apart last season. Oh, side note, Pham did play for the Padres last year. He's with the Reds now. It's a whole thing. Anyway, the story just keeps going and going and going. I mean, Jock's got receipts. Pham is saying Jock cheated. Now there's word that the commissioner of the league, who is Mike Trout, is being pulled in, and his character is being defamed as well. So I felt like we needed to get this together, and we needed to have a call of a hearing in fantasy court. So I'm convening a jury of my peers, namely the two other guys that are on the show with me right now, because that's how this works. And we got to get to the bottom of this. We have to really dig into what happened. So first off, first question for you, Troy. How do you feel about stashing players on injured reserve? Are you okay with that?
Listen, Jock played by the rules of his league. Here's the thing. I believe that it shouldn't be set up where you should be like, if you should only be able to put players on IR if they're on IR. However, if your scoring or league allows you to do so, play within the limits of your league. Like, he didn't do anything wrong. He looked at the rules. He did what he was allowed to do. So would I have been a little bit salty as his league mate? Maybe, but at the same time, I could do it too. So it's like, it's not like he was the only person that was able to do that, right? The league shouldn't have been set up like that, but he played within, he's not like he was collusion. He just played the way the league was set up. So I can't be mad at him, but I should be mad. If anyone's going to be mad at Mike Trout. He was the commissioner. He set it up like that. So he's the real enemy in this.
Well, that's the thing. So Florio, I mean, that was part of it. Like, that part of it came out this morning. That Pham is now taking shots at Mike Trout, that's saying he's the worst commissioner in fantasy sports, which is it's a heavy charge to level on somebody. I mean, as the commissioner, does he have a role in this? Is blame to be placed at the feet of Mike Trout? I know Callie seems to have an opinion about it, but is there blame to be laid at Mike Trout's feet in this whole thing?
I don't think so. Look. Being a commissioner is a thankless job, and Tommy Pham, like I actually tweeted this out today. I said Tommy Pham's quote is what my reaction is whenever people ask me to be a commissioner. He said nobody wanted to be the commissioner. I didn't want to be the bleeping commissioner. I have other beep to do. So, and then he even goes on to say Mike Trout didn't want to be commissioner, but we kind of forced him to be it. I think the role of the commissioner is like to set up the league, to get people, find a day that people can draft and stuff. But the rules are in place. And even Tommy Pham was like, I know the rules of ESPN. We have a different rule set. And it's like, maybe then Trout is to blame a little bit, but I don't know. I think that this is just one of those things of like, Tommy Pham, he has a little bit of a beef there, but he should have just been like my reaction would have been, oh, I'm allowed to do this. I'm going to start doing this on my team now because I think you're doing yourself a disservice. And Marcus, to go back to your friends, I loved the fact that it was Jeff Wilson Jr. because last year the guy rushed for 294 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had 7 catches for 31 yards. I mean, what are we doing here?
I think that's the other part, right? Like, Jeff, you're upset that somebody is preventing you from picking up Jeff Wilson? Like, this was not a league-winning dude, right? This is not a game-changing, like, oh, crap, I missed out on Jeff Wilson, like, now I'm screwed. Like, what is happening? It's like this is the thing that apparently set Tommy Pham off. Other part of this, them strong-arming Mike Trout into being commissioner, was this like how did this go down? Was this like, hey, Mike, you make more than all of us? Like, you're in charge of the league? Like, they're apparently playing for $10,000 was the pot. And
the last place team had to throw in another $10K.
An additional $10K. I mean, obviously they're playing on a different level than most of us. So, but it is funny that even amongst Major League Baseball players, nobody wants to be the commissioner. I'm gonna put this out to both of you, and you don't have to name names unless you really want to put somebody on blast. But has there ever been anyone in one of your leagues that you legitimately wanted to slap over their behavior?
I would say I'm not going to name names, but absolutely. If you've been playing fantasy for multiple years, look, things get tense, right? Or like people will just do crazy things. Or I had one guy. It was during the draft. It was funny. So we all had a draft date, and everyone drafted. He apparently did, and everyone assumed that he was drafting. But apparently, he was an auto draft, right? And after like maybe like a half an hour later, he realized he auto drafted. He quit the league. We had to find someone else to take over. And actually, the person that took over won the league that year. So it's funny. But at the time, I was really mad at the dude that just quit because, he didn't pay attention to the draft date or whatever. But I wasn't happy with him. So somebody
winning the league, though, with a team that you have auto-drafted is sort of its own metaphorical slap in the face, right? Like they took your work
I was mad.
You didn't think was good enough, and they won with it. Like that's kind of a slap in the face on its own. Florio, anybody you wanted to give a 5-finger salute to?
Oh yeah, this was, even before I really worked much in the industry, but it was in my home league. We all used to gather at this like one friend's house to draft, and there was one guy in the league who got way too like sloppily drunk and made a huge mess in this guy's house. Ate his he had food set aside, and the guy just went over and ate it, and we were like, oh my god, like this is. And then we gave him a pass. We were like, all right, he got really sloppy. It was one day. The next year at the draft, we had the draft set for like a month, the date. The night before, he decided to go to Atlantic City and called us the morning of and was like, you guys have to postpone the draft. And we were like, just get out of the league. Like, we are done with you.
Yeah, that's pretty terrible. Yeah, that's just inconsiderate. That's awful. I will say this, though. I mean, you would hope that a guy who gets sloppy drunk in the draft, like you can take advantage of him, and he just makes terrible picks.
He drafted awful for what it's worth.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's surprising.
That really makes sense. Yeah, I've played mostly. It's for me. It's not so much people who send bad trade offers, but it's the people who continually try to bully you into taking those bad trade offers, where like they're always hitting you up, whether it's email, DMs, maybe it's a coworker who wants to walk by your desk all the time, but just always just sort of like trying to bully you into like, hey, did you see this offer? Yeah, I saw your offer. It sucks. I don't want it. But continuing to try and harass you into taking it. Even when you try to counter, it's those people that just get me to my wit's end. That occasionally I just want to ask them what the 5 fingers said to the face.
I thought of one more that I think I know you're going to agree with, Marcus. It's the people who in a slow draft when you're on the clock for 2 minutes are like, OTC.
Yeah. It is. As soon as it clicks over to you, you get those DMs like, you're on the clock. I'm like, and so me being, the sometime part-time jerk that I am, like a lot of times I do try to keep the line moving, right? Like I want to make the picks, but when somebody hits me with the Euro TC, then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna wait. Now I'm just gonna sit here and wait. I'm gonna let the clock run, and now you're all like everybody else is being punished because one person couldn't be patient. That's it. So understand that. All right. So now that we've gone through all this, we need a ruling here. I know Troy, you sort of led with it, but I'm gonna ask you like, who do you side with in the case of Pham versus Peterson here?
It's gotta be Peterson, man. Like again, I'm never gonna be that in that situation. I'm never gonna actually slap somebody. If I were me, I'm not gonna actually do that. That's obviously an overreaction for one, but also he played within the rules of his league. I can't be mad at the dude, so I'm Peterson on this one.
All right, Florio, your thought?
I'm on Team Jock, even though Team Jock had like 25 RBIs against the Mets last week to beat them. I still side with him, although I will say, like, Tommy Pham is a man of his word. Apparently, in this group chat in football season, he said, the next time I see you, I'm going to slap you. And he was a man of his word, so I guess he gets some credit for that.
Yeah, I'm going to make it a clean sweep. Like, I don't think Jock did anything wrong. Like he played within the rules of the league. And again, we're talking about Jeff Wilson, right? It wasn't like he stashed, I don't know, DeAndre Hopkins or something on IR when he couldn't. He stashed a guy that like, look, was just going to languish on the waiver wire. If you started him, was probably going to get you like 3 points. Like I'm okay with Jock doing what he did. I love the fact that he had receipts and he was like ready to go.
That's the coolest part. They're like, we're getting to see their group chat, like texts and stuff. Like they said, like Machado and Eric Hosmer and Mike Moustakas were all in it, and like we're just getting to see a glimpse of their world. I think that's pretty cool.
I think that is very cool. And like, so before the show, we were trying to like connect the dots on how some of these guys got in. Right now, I'm figuring what. We're guessing because Machado's in the league, Hosmer's in the league, Moustakas. So some of these guys are all sort of connected, right? And that's how I think Pham got in the league. No idea how Jock Peterson got in this league or how Mike Trout got in the league or who started it. But like, I want to connect the dots on how this thing got created.
Was there like a posting, like a California fantasy base? Because they're all from California teams, but they're not teammates and stuff. So
they're
like.
Not. But I figured, so the way I can sort of break this down, right? Like Moustakas and Hosmer were teammates with the Royals. Hosmer is now a Padre, so you figure that's how, he's connected to Machado and Pham. Sort of the mystery here is, where does Jock fit in? I mean, I guess Jock played for an NL West team, but that was a couple years ago. Trout is in Southern California. Like I'm trying to figure out how this all works together.
Is Jock a California guy?
Jock is a California guy.
Not.
Trout is
Trout's
not.
From Jersey.
Trout's from Jersey, but he plays in California. I mean, side note to this, I also want to know, did Jock draft his former high school teammate Devontae Adams?
Ooh,
we got to find this out, right? They played high school football together in East Palo Alto, up in the Bay Area. Which shout out to our producer Randy, who actually pointed that out. I didn't know that until recently, so Randy pointed that out. But you figure that's a legit first round pick, right? Like you could take Devontae in the first round, like give some love to your old high school teammate and get a legit first round pick at the same time. These are the burning questions that no one has thought to ask yet.
If the higher ups are listening, and we know that they are, I mean, there's they should just make a show around this league. Like we should follow this league next year and see what happens.
Absolutely,
that's an amazing idea.
Absolutely, yep, we need a weekly reality. We can use it for digital, whatever. You can be on YouTube. I don't care. I'll host it. That's fine. We just need the updates on this MLB league. So, all right. So it sounds like a clean sweep in favor of Jock Peterson. So sorry, Tommy Pham. I know you're doubling down and tripling down on this. But it's not really going to work. So, by the way, I don't know. I think the Cubs, I don't know if you saw this, the Cubs took a shot at Tommy Pham on the scoreboard. They put up his stats, and one of the stats was, or one of the potential prop bets was fantasy football disputes, 0.5 over under. On fantasy football disputes.
That's good. That's good.
Pham. So
the funny thing was, Jock isn't the first player that Tommy Pham has like wanted to fight this year. Apparently he challenged Luke Voigt to a fight earlier this year and was like, I don't know, but Tommy Pham seems like a guy that you don't want to get on his bad side.
Yeah, he's apparently Tommy Pham likes to fight guy. Who knew? Who knew?
Fun fact. We learned something new.
Tommy Pham likes to fight guy, apparently. All right. Let's talk about some actual football. Oh, that was fun though. Few headlines in what is this is fantasy football silly season. So there's not necessarily a ton of news. I mean, fantasy Twitter spent the whole day arguing the pros and cons of Najee Harris maybe gaining 14 pounds. Although I guess if you ask Najee, he only gained like 4. We all need to take a breath and go outside. We do. Alas, the machine keeps churning. We all need to pay our bills. So here we go. Let's talk about the Packers wide receivers group though, right? Randall Cobb is singing the praises of Christian Watson. The thought was when they drafted him, he was kind of an MVS replacement, kind of a tall, lean, fast field stretcher that can maybe take the top off of defense, but people were sort of worried about what his overall game was going to be. Randall Cobb says he's the total package, that he's ready to go. So, I mean, Troy, are we not giving Watson enough credit? Is he actually going to be an impact player with the Packers this year?
That's a good question. I think it's possible. So there's also reports that have been coming out about his hands, right? And those were concerns in college about he dropped the ball a lot. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he's the next Jamar Chase.
That's where I was going.
Exactly, but look, last year Jamar had a lot of drops. So I I don't really care about drops in the preseason, but Aaron Rodgers might care about drops during the season. So hopefully he clears it up, right? Hopefully, and like he has a couple months to get it right. And he has athleticism, right? The reason why he went where he went is because he's a freak athlete, right? His college production is overall questionable compared to some of the other guys in the draft, but he has that upside. So look, I think Allen Lazard to me is the wide receiver one at this very moment because he's the one that has rapport with Aaron Rodgers. But Christian Watson, maybe he figures it out. Maybe he builds that rapport with Aaron Rodgers and he might be a steal or value. I just think it's a little bit too early for either way. I don't think he's a bust, just yet. But I think we're not giving him enough credit. Let him develop. Let's see what the guy has.
I mean, this time a year ago, Jamar Chase was breaking. He had skillets for hands, and he couldn't see right. Like it was all over. It was all over for Jamar Chase before the season began. And then lo and behold, he helps the Bengals get to a Super Bowl. So it shows what we know. Florio, it's going to be the kind of thing this year though, where we know Aaron Rodgers is going to be fine and we're going to draft him as a top 10 quarterback, but is it going to be kind of spin the wheel of Packers wide receivers on a weekly basis?
I think that's very much so in like a possible outcome here. I do agree with Troy that I have Allen Lazard ranked the highest of all of these receivers, but I'm seeing people on Twitter like really like bang the table for Allen Lazard. I can't get fired up for undrafted Allen Lazard, who has done really nothing in the NFL. They have Watson, they have Sammy Watkins still, Randall Cobb, but I continue to hold out hope that the Packers will be the landing spot for one of Will Fuller or Julio Jones, because I think that would make a lot of sense. You're going with a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. You've invested so much money into him. You need to strike while the window is open. So maybe they do go into the season with these being their wide receivers, but I continue to think that we will see them make a move closer to the year. That's been my thought since they've traded Devontae Adams. And Watson and Lazard are the top two to draft here. I think Watson has the highest upside, but I think Lazard is a little bit safer. But it's hard for me to feel really excited about any of the Packers receivers right now.
I mean, that's sort of the thing, right? And I guess it's not extremely different. In the past, we had one guy that we got really excited about, and the rest were sort of, leftovers, if you will. And now it's like they're trying to piece together a wide receiver core with guys that, are nice players, for our selfish fantasy purposes, don't necessarily move the needle a whole lot. And we're sort of hoping that maybe Rodgers elevates one of these guys. And I think for me, the red flag in this whole thing, especially when it comes to a guy like Allen Lazard, is the thing we keep coming back to is, well, he's been there and Aaron Rodgers knows him. I mean, it's not that we've seen Allen Lazard in the past flash and be like, yeah, this guy was really on the verge of great things. Now that Devontae's out of the way, like it's just like it's all systems go. Our fallback is, yeah, he knows the system. He's been there. But like we don't say that same thing for Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb super knows the system, right? He had been there for years. He and Aaron Rodgers reportedly asked for him by name, like, hey, get me Randall Cobb, because I know he knows what he's doing. We didn't look around at Randall Cobb and be like, oh yeah, this dude knows the system. We got to draft him. Like, I feel like we're trying to make fetch happen with Allen Lazard right now. And maybe it'll sort of all shake out in the ADP, but I feel like we're just trying to kind of make a thing happen that isn't necessarily there to happen. Staying in a division in Chicago, Justin Fields is, doing what supposed franchise quarterbacks should do. He is trying to pump up his wide receivers. Everybody looks at the Bears wide receiver room and they're like, hey, there's Darnell Mooney but Justin Fields says he's got confidence in these guys in the wide receiver group to get the job done. So, Florio, I'll put this to you. Beyond Darnell Mooney, is there somebody that you have any level of confidence in?
In their wide receivers, no. I mean, you look at the wide receivers after Darnell Mooney, and it is a who's who of players that we used to hype up in fantasy who did nothing. Like Dante Pettis, Tajay Sharp, the bad St. Brown brother, Byron Pringle. Like, there's just not a lot of talent there. I know they drafted Velus Jones Jr., but he's an older receiver who shakes out more like a special teams player. But I do like Cole Kmet, and I think Cole Kmet is a really good value in fantasy because you could get him as a tight end 2, but I think he's going to finish as a tight end 1 this year. I think he'll be the second target behind Darnell Mooney. But what I'm really anticipating, like, they brought in a defensive-minded coach. They have a rookie play caller here. I'm anticipating a lot of running, and hopefully that means Justin Fields running the ball as well, because last year it made no sense how they were trying to use him. But I think Fields and Montgomery could get a lot of run just because the style of play that I think the Bears are going to have this season.
I do love David Montgomery. I've been a David Montgomery stan pretty much since day one, and I do think just looking at the wide receiver group, this is going to help him. It's funny too. It's Florio. Talked about Velus Jones being an older guy. Troy, you and I were talking before the show about how we have to put I think we have to put the term football old in front of guys because Velus Jones is like 25. Right? It's like he's not like old he's not old in real world terms, but like he's old for a rookie sort of thing. It's like the scene from Knocked Up where the women are trying to get into the club and Robinson's up front. He's like, "You're not too old like for the earth. You're just too old to be in this club." Like that's sort of how it is.
He's like, "Why are you even at the club?"
right? Like, you old, you pregnant, like But so as we look at this group, though, Troy, and he talked about what this means for Justin Fields, for David Montgomery. I love Montgomery. I think he's going to be fine. Where are we coming down, though, on Justin Fields here in year 2 in an offense that didn't really seem to put a whole lot of help around him?
I am not excited about Justin Fields at all this year. And it's just because the Bears didn't do anything to get us excited, right? It's just they didn't add anything really. Again, they added a bunch of mediocre receivers. Like that does. I wish they went the Zach Wilson route and actually, provided him with some weapons, right? Obviously, you got Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. So I think that, again, you're praying for his rushing. That's the only thing that he has at this very moment. I think he's going to be a QB2, probably like a mid-range QB2. I just don't see the upside. Again, unless he runs for 100 yards a game, I just don't know. But maybe the run game's good enough where it's going to help set up the pass game, and that's where Justin Fields will, excel, and maybe he takes that leap all on his own, right? He kind of does it all himself, or he makes plays happen. But based off what the Bears did for him, it's hard to get excited. You still have hope for dynasty because he's a young QB and like he's going to be their franchise quarterback. But this year, again, like it's in like your standard redraft 1 QB league. I'm not relying on him as my starter when there's a bunch of other dudes that I would prefer. So I'm not very excited, unfortunately, about Justin Fields this year.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I have hope for him, but I want to see the Bears do more to kind of help him out. And I know our friend and colleague Adam Rank has really tried to to put a brave Rank. I love you, man. Like I know he's trying to kind of spin this as look, they're complete team building, and why would we go out and spend a lot of money on a mediocre wide receiver? Like I sort of understand it, but also you don't really have that much time with Justin Fields, under a rookie contract.
I think you could make the opposite argument for exactly what you guys have just said. Like, yes, they're team building, but if we all know success starts at the quarterback position in the NFL. Like, you need to know by the second contract if Justin Fields is the guy or not, so you want to surround him with talent. With me, it feels like a new regime came in, and they're kind of like, if this doesn't work out, we'll now have time to find our own guy. I still believe in Fields as a player, but I don't love the moves the Bears have made around him.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So I know Rank's trying to kind of shine this up a little bit, and God bless you for that. Also, our pal Derek Brown, D-Bro, I know was sort of trying to put a happy spin on Justin Fields and saying that we don't get down on Lamar Jackson because his wide receivers or his pass catchers are basically Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews. And I appreciate that optimism, but we've also seen Lamar Jackson excel like on his own.
Exactly.
We think Justin Fields can do that. We know Lamar Jackson can do that, and I think that's sort of the difference between the two of them there. So, I don't know. It's interesting. I feel like Trey Lance and Justin Fields are both sort of in a holding pattern for different reasons, but we're kind of holding out our optimism for both of those guys. weirdly, this is all NFC North news. I didn't plan for that to happen. It just sort of happened that it's all NFC North teams here. Adam Thielen says he feels rejuvenated and is ready to kind of get back after it after a couple of, last year was not a great year. The year before, he was a wide receiver one, Troy. I mean, he had about 920 yards, I believe, something like that. He had 14 touchdowns, which went a long way toward keeping him in the top 10. But it just seems like, Father Time apparently has at least temporarily given up on chasing Tom Brady, so he's going after Adam Thielen instead. I mean, are you buying this? We usually do Hype Trainer Smokescreen, so I'll just ask, Hype Trainer Smokescreen, do you think he's rejuvenated and he can be close to being a wide receiver one again?
Close to wide receiver one is a little strong for my liking, but I feel like he's a solid wide receiver two because look, the past 2 years, one of the biggest things going to last year was, he scored 14 touchdowns the year before. Is he going to score? He found the end zone, a decent amount of times last year. So this year, and they also don't have a third wide receiver that, to me, is going to take over Adam Thielen's role, right? They got KJ Osborne. I don't think he's going to step into that wide receiver two position just yet. So I believe it. And just because his ADP is comfortable enough for me where, like, if you want to grab him, like, again, your standard 1 QB redraft league, then fine. You might as well take the shot, right? Just Justin Jefferson and who else? Irv Smith. We'll see if, Irv Smith becomes a thing. I don't think so.
Hashtag let Irv swerve. Come on.
Let Irv swerve. Again, he's going to be a streaming tight end. He's going to be, relying on touchdowns. But I believe that just from where he's going, I think you should feel okay taking Adam Thielen. Rejuvenated, we'll see, right? He's not a sexy pick whatsoever, but he's one of those guys that's going late enough in drafts where I might take a shot at him as my wide receiver 3 on my team. I'd feel comfortable having, but I wouldn't want to rely on him as my wide receiver 2 on my fantasy.
All right, Florio, so, where are you comfortable drafting Thielen this year then?
I similar to Troy, but I'll be honest, in like all my best balls and stuff that I've done already, I haven't ended up with a single share of Adam Thielen because he to me is like a safe floor kind of guy where I'm chasing more upside in that range. Like he hasn't topped 1,000 yards since 2018. He's going to be 32 this year. He's very touchdown reliant, and I think also where maybe a little bit difference comes in with me and Troy is I like Irv Smith Jr. a good amount. Like I think the guy can really play. I think he has shown that in the limited chances that he's been given. I think he just needed that pathway to open up. And we saw last year how involved Tyler Conklin was in this offense. I think that was a role built for Irv Smith Jr. And I think he's going to take that over this year. And for what it's worth, Kirk Cousins in an interview yesterday was talking about his weapons, and he listed them in order: Justin Jefferson, Irv Smith Jr., Adam Thielen. I don't know if that matters for anything, but I was like, hey, Irv Smith's getting included with the big boys there. But the truth of the matter is I think Justin Jefferson's going to get 160 plus targets this year. So I think Adam Thielen is just going to need to keep that high touchdown variance going. And that can be tough to do year to year.
Touchdowns are fickle beasts. I say it all the time. I mean, he has gone double digits in back-to-back years, but it is getting harder to keep that up. And especially if the receptions overall, if the yardage goes down overall, then he really does have to keep those touchdown numbers up. And I think it's becoming a lot to ask. For the record, I am definitely hashtag let Irv swerve. And look, Florio, we are, like I said, we're in the silly season now, so we are grasping onto any little grain of information we can. So the fact that, Kirk Cousins listed Irv Smith ahead of Adam Thielen, I'll allow it.
Hashtag analysis.
I didn't see any blurbs about it though.
Let's talk to our friends over at NBC Sports Edge. We'll get Roto Pat. We'll get Denny Carter on it. See if they can write up a blurb about it, and then it becomes, it's like making it Instagram official at that point once it's blurbed up. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. We'll come back. We're gonna play a little game of Rank 'em where we will rank some different players at relative positions, and we're gonna have a fantasy draft of things because it's Thirsty Thursday, and I feel like that's a perfect topic to do. We got Troy King here, so stick around for that on the NFL Fantasy Football Show. So as I was digging through, trying to find some news and some things to talk about here in the 1st of June, which really is about kind of the dead part of the season, right? You got, for the most part, OTAs are sort of over. We've gone through rookie mini camps or whatever. This is sort of when players kind of tend to take a break. This is when, pull back the curtain a little bit, this is when folks at NFL media tend to break out and go on vacations for the next 6 weeks, because then we get to mid-July, training camp starts, and then we're all locked in again. So in that respect, coming up with some things to talk about, I was looking at some position groups for certain teams that seem kind of muddled. And I'll say the inspiration for this was a story I read about Patrick Mahomes saying that this year is going to be sort of everybody helping out and contributing to the offense. He was asked about, what the Chiefs do now that there's no more Tyreek Hill. How do they address that? And he was basically saying, look, it's going to take everybody here. So then I started to think about it. Well, you look at the everybody in that wide receiver group. I mean, we know Travis Kelce's going to be fine. He's Travis Kelce. I'm not worried about that significantly. But I went through and looked at the wide receiver group, and I'm like, yeah. So I feel like we should rank them. So, Troy, I'll start with you. We go with the Chiefs wide receivers. We got Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Juju Smith-Schuster, Sky Moore, who they just drafted, and Mecole Hardman, who we've been trying to make a thing for a while now. So, of those four, put them in order from most interested to least interested.
I think for me, it's pretty easy, but I'm going Juju, Sky Moore, MVS, Mecole Hardman. Just kind of like you said, we've been trying to make Mecole Hardman a thing. I used to be a Mecole Hardman truther like 3 years ago, and we know how that turned out. And I just don't see him now. I just don't see him now becoming relevant, right? It's just, look, they gave MVS a decent contract. Look, Juju, I believe he's just the best wide receiver on the team right now. And Sky Moore, I think he's a more complete wide receiver than MVS and Mecole Hardman. So that's why I have it in that order.
All right. Florio, what you got?
I have Juju number one. I think he'll be their top target behind Travis Kelce. I have Sky Moore second. I think he has the most upside here. I thought the Chiefs were the best landing spot for him coming into the draft. Then I'll put MVS third and Mecole Hardman fourth. Like, Mecole Hardman has been here for years. He hadn't been able to beat out Byron Pringle. He wasn't really able to separate himself from Demarcus Robinson. And they gave MVS, like, I was looking at their contracts now. I believe MVS got more than Juju, which isn't cheap at any stretch. So that shows you the confidence, in my opinion, that shows the confidence they had in Mecole Hardman to play that field stretching role. So I think MVS will be more useful for the Chiefs in real life as that field stretcher than he will be for fantasy. But this is a situation, Marcus, where I wouldn't be surprised if it's a lot like it was previous years behind Hill and Kelce, where it's just like a revolving door, and we don't know week to week which one is going to get the production.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I don't think we're going to be able to just lock in on one Chiefs receiver and say, hey, look, this is the guy. I do think, when Mahomes says it's going to be sort of everybody involved, I do believe that, which is great for the Chiefs. It's not great for us. But I'm going to put Juju at number one. I have MVS at 2, just because I think with Juju and Kelce sort of manning that short intermediate, that's going to bring those defenses up a little bit. And I think you're going to see MVS kind of running free. So I have him at 2. I got Sky Moore at 3. It's pretty close, though. And then I got Mecole Hardman in that last spot, just because, like you guys have said, it's been 3 seasons. It just hasn't happened for Hardman. Last year he had almost 700 yards. That was by far his best season, but also, it took a lot of other things kind of working around it for him to get to that point. So I think that's that might be about his ceiling at this point. All right. We got Troy on, noted Dolphins honk. So I felt like there's a good chance to dive into the Dolphins roster a little bit. So I looked at their running backs, because they are collecting running backs like trading cards right now, right? So right now, they have, of note, they've got a lot more running backs, but the ones at least of note in the backfield: Raheem Mostert, Sony Michel, Myles Gaskin, Savon Ahmed, and Chase Edmonds. So, Troy, I will hand this to you first. Can you put them in an order for me, please?
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to start off by saying that all these running backs are not going to be on the roster going into the season. This is just way too much. But I will say Edmonds is definitely my RB1. He's the one I'm most excited about. RB2, this was definitely trickier, but I'm going to go Mostert. Pray that he stays healthy, but we know what Mostert is and when he is healthy, right? He's explosive. This is obviously a system he's going to be very familiar with. So I was number 2. Michelle is interesting to me, right? Because I didn't think that he would fit this system, right? This system is more, more zone scheme. I believe like speed is better. So Sony Michel, like he looked decent last year, but he's not known as be like a very fast, individual. So I'll put him 3. Gaskin, I'm putting 4. The demise of Myles Gaskin is sad for me, but I'll say that you don't bring in 20 running backs if you have confidence in Myles Gaskin. So I think they kind of told him what they felt about him. And Salvon Ahmed, he does practice squad guy. Like, again, he's probably the first to be put on the practice squad or cut. Outside of him, again, I think in terms of being cut, it's going to be between, my opinion, Michel, Gaskin, Ahmed. So that's my order.
That's yeah. I think that sounds reasonable. Florio, what's your ranking look like?
I have them in the same order as Troy. I have Chase Edmonds first. They gave him the most money. I think he will lead that backfield in targets, and that's really useful for fantasy. I think Raheem Mostert is second. He came with Mike McDaniel from the 49ers system. That is a system that he has had success in. He knows very well. Like Troy said, speed is very important there, and Edmonds and Mostert have the most speed of all of these guys. I think Sony Michel was brought in because Chase Edmonds, for everything he is not a goal line runner. He has never been used as that in his career. And Raheem Mostert has taken a lot of hits and injuries. So I think Michel was brought in to be like that hammer, like that short yardage situation running back, the one that you use in the red zone. And then I think Gaskin is 4th, Salvon Ahmed is 5th. Those guys to me are just depth. Either one of them could be cut, like Troy said, maybe end up on another team. But my fear is that we're seeing Edmonds lead this backfield. He'll get the targets. Mostert get like 8 to 10 carries a game, and then Sony Michel coming in and punching that home for the touchdown. If that's the case, I don't think you're going to want any of these guys for fantasy.
That's no good for anybody if that ends up being the case. So mine at the top, I flip-flopped Mostert and Edmonds. I have Mostert just ahead of Edmonds just because of the relationship he had with McDaniels and how when he was healthy, I think the Niners wanted him to be their lead running back. He just struggled to stay on the field. He's got incredible speed. He's a big play guy waiting to happen. And then Edmonds, I think, sort of fills that gap as kind of a more do everything back, can catch the football like you guys mentioned. So I have him at 2, Mostert at 1, and then the rest of them are exactly as you guys have it. I got Sony Michel at 3, Myles Gaskin at 4, Salvon Ahmed at 5. It's funny too because, and I said this previously on the show, that what we loved 2 years ago about the Dolphins was that they were kind of a one-back team. Now, that one back sort of changed depending on who was healthy and who was not. But, when it was Myles Gaskin's week, it was Myles Gaskin's week. When it was Salvon Ahmed, he was the one who got all the work there. I don't think that's going to be the case now with this new coaching staff. I think we're going to see all these guys sort of rotate through, and that potentially is going to be a very big headache for all of us in the fantasy world. All right, last position group that is a head scratcher for me, and maybe we'll do some more later on this summer because I'm sure there'll be other ones that come up. But the Giants wide receivers, which, that's just a grab bag of meh is what that is. But Troy, as you look at, let's go Kenny Golladay, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, Kadarius Toney, and the rookie Wan'Dale Robinson. How are you putting these guys in order?
Honestly, this was by far one of the hardest questions I've ever been asked.
Welcome to the show.
Exactly, because it's just like, oh my god. But I'll answer it though. Kadarius Toney, to me, when he was healthy, he just was playing a different game, right? He was just so electric, so elusive. Sometimes he goes side to side too much and not, straight. That's the only knock I have on him in terms of on the field. So I'll put Kadarius Toney 1. He's the guy I'm most interested in. I'll put Kenny Golladay 2. I'm assuming that Brian Daboll is going to find a way to, use Golladay. You don't pay him that much money not to use him. And again, we've seen him in, with the Lions. He's a capable wide receiver, and he could be pretty good as long as Daniel Jones, gets in the ball and the offense is somewhat competent. I think Golladay is 2. I'm going to put Shepard at 3. Shepard, when again, it's all about health, right? When he's a PPR machine. When he's on the field and healthy, Daniel Jones likes to target him, right? He's going to operate as the slot, so I'll put him as 3. Wan'Dale Robinson, I'll put as 4. Wan'Dale Robinson and Toney are very similar to me, and I don't know if that had anything to do with the rumors about Toney maybe being traded, and that's why they drafted Wan'Dale. I have no idea, but I'm going to put him as 4 because I don't know what his role is necessarily going to be. And Slayton, he's just lucky to be part of this group. He's lucky to be mentioned, so he's last.
Yeah, this one was a rough one. I'm not gonna lie to you. This was rough. Florio, I don't know if you had any better luck putting them in kind of order.
This one isn't that tough for me because I love Kadarius Toney, so he's easily my number one. I like. You watched last year, and it was a 2-game stretch. Well, it was really 2.25 game stretch. When he was healthy, he was by far their top target, and he was destroying opposing like his best game. He almost had 200 yards against the number 1 ranked Cowboys defense. He put on a clinic against Trayvon Diggs there. So I have him as number 1. I'm really bullish. I'm targeting, like actively targeting him in all of the drafts I'm going to do this year. I have Kenny Golladay second. I still think Kenny Golladay can play. I just think the way the Giants used him last year was awful. Like, he's a contested catch monster, but with the Lions, he was getting those catches 30, 40 yards downfield. With the Giants, it was 10 yards. So really hard to be productive. So hoping that Brian Daboll does use him different, like Troy said. After that, I'm not really interested in any of them. I'll put Robinson third just because he's the new rookie here. Maybe they look to get him involved. I'll go Slayton 4, and then I'll go Shepard 5. The only reason though Shepard is 5 for me, he would be third, but he tore his Achilles late in this season, so I'm really not expecting much, if at all, from Sterling Shepard this season. So just for that, he's kind of off my radar.
All right. Well, we have the same at the top. I got Toney at number 1. I feel like that seems to be the consensus because he's the guy that they really gonna want to build around. Kenny Golladay I have at number 2. Last year, he had the same number of touchdowns as the 3 of us combined. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that changes. I'm just gonna put it out there. I think
him and Toney both.
Yes, exactly. So, you can call me a hot take artist, but I'm gonna say that both Kadarius Toney and Kenny Golladay scored a touchdown in 2022. Just putting that out there. So I got him at 2. I've got Shepard at 3. The injury notwithstanding, I just think when he's healthy at least and back, he's a guy that they really want to get involved, and so I've got him at 3. I've got Slayton at 4, Robinson at 5, but I could easily be talked into, rearranging those last 3 in pretty much any order. I'm not necessarily married to any of them because, sort of like Florio said, I don't know how much interest I have in any of those guys really, and whether or not I'm going to be drafting any of them. But at least with Toney and Golladay, I can at least say that I have some interest. It may end up with at least one or both of them in some places before the season starts. So, all right. So we tried to make some sense of that. Hopefully that helped somebody. Probably didn't. We tried. Before we get out of here, though, I wanted to do a fantasy draft of things. And so I felt like we had Troy King here. He is the champion of Thirsty Thursday. So I felt like let's do a draft of non-alcoholic beverages. I felt like I was like, do we throw in beer and out? But it feels like that gets too much in the weeds. So let's just go straight up non-alcoholic beverages. We'll do a 4-round draft. Not snake. We'll just start just 1 to 3 the whole time. So we'll do the order of Troy. You go first, Florio, and then I will go third. 4 rounds. Troy, you have the first pick in the best non-alcoholic beverages draft.
I'm probably gonna keep it simple and just fruit punch. Ooh. Fruit punch I feel like this is easy, man. Fruit punch, you could just drink by itself. If you wanted to mix it with alcohol, you can. I like juice in general, but I feel like fruit punch is very versatile. It could play all over the field. So I'm gonna go fruit punch.
All right, Florio, what you got?
I like that pick. Similar, I'm going with iced tea for the exact reason that Troy said. Like, there's numerous situations where you're like, and I like sitting outside in the sun, and iced tea is great there. But I don't know. I grew up drinking the big cans of Arizona iced tea. I had to wean myself off of iced tea. I used to drink that much of it when I was younger.
Wow. You guys let lemonade fall to me at 3. I'm thrilled.
That's a good one.
I didn't think lemonade was going to make it this far, so I will gladly take lemonade, that cool, refreshing drink. Just like with fruit punch and iced tea, it's great by itself. It mixes well with other things. You can make it to your own specifications. So I'm very glad to have lemonade at 3. All right, round 2, Troy, back to you.
This is also a pick that should have been first round, but orange juice, OJ.
Okay,
I gotta take it here. Look, it's a huge value. Again, I could have it You could have it for breakfast. Again, you could have it for fun breakfast. You want to mix it with champagne. But look, oranges, again, just like fruit punch, it's versatile. It could be used in a bunch of different ways. OJ, second round.
Are you pulp or no pulp?
Oh, no pulp.
Okay.
Too much pulp is gross. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't like.
At that point, I would just want an orange. You're gonna have all that pulp.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Florio, it's back to you then.
I'm going with Gatorade here. I drink a lot of Gatorade. I not as much as I used to. When I was a kid, their advertising worked because I used to chug Gatorade when I would play sports because I wanted to sweat the color of the Gatorade like they would in the commercial. That never happened, but I legit used to like play video games and just chug like a giant bottle of Gatorade until I realized like that wasn't healthy to do. But Gatorade is still one of the drinks, the non-water drinks that I will still drink today.
All right. So I'm maybe switching gears a little bit because we've all had sort of more refreshing beverages, but I'm gonna jump in here with coffee here at the end of round 2, because again, we don't think about it the same way we think about, say, lemonade or fruit punch or Gatorade, but like you can drink it on its own. You can throw a little something in it. You can drink it hot.
Make it Irish.
You can make it Irish. You can drink it hot. You can drink it iced if you want. Like coffee, I feel like we think about it one specific way, but coffee I think is really more versatile than we're giving it credit for. So that's going to be my second round pick. So all right, so back to the third round. Troy, what you got?
Another thing that you guys let fall to me, chocolate milk.
Oh.
I don't think I even have to explain because chocolate milk is just delicious, and you could have it as an adult. I feel like now I can have chocolate milk, but it's just like it's my privacy in my own home. I'm not gonna go out and order chocolate milk, but it's something that just never goes wrong. So chocolate milk.
All right.
Yeah, you sniped me there because I was gonna draft Yoo-hoo, which is like a form of chocolate milk. Yeah, you kind of. All right, I'm gonna go with an essential one.
Okay.
Like this is like the offensive line pick. It's not gonna get fans riled up, but you need this to survive. Water, like water is now my favorite drink. I know that sounds super boring, but it's pretty much the only non-alcoholic drink I drink most of the time. So give me what we all need to live. Give me water.
Yeah, I was wondering how long water was going to stay on the board. I definitely had it queued up there just in case. I was hoping maybe it would slip to the fourth round, but I think I knew better than that. So I'm going to go sort of kind of off menu again. And you don't get this a whole lot, and it's maybe an acquired taste. So I don't know if everybody's going to really get down with my choice, but I'm going to take ginger beer here, right? I know it has beer in the title, but it's not actually alcoholic. It's sort of like, root beer. Root beer has beer in the title, but it's not alcoholic. But I love ginger. I sort of love it's kind of light and crisp. It's good for a summer day. And again, it mixes well with things. So that's going to be my third round pick. I know I'm sure I will get panned for it when this hits the Twitterverse. But okay, you know what? I'm sitting at the press conference. I'm going to say, you know what? We checked all the metrics. We liked ginger beer's workout. It interviewed well. We're really happy with the selection. We think it fits well with the offense. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing here. All right, last round. Troy, started off.
Listen, I had to go. I'm surprised it didn't go earlier. Coca-Cola, man. I don't drink as much soda as before. They probably should have went higher, but Coke, it's refreshing. You could, again, very versatile type of drink. The fizz, the fizz is unmatched. It's not like Pepsi and Coke are not the same thing.
They're not the same.
Yeah, give me Coke.
They are not the same. All right, so Coke lasts till the fourth round. You want to talk about just sitting in the green room, just sad by itself, like wondering what happened. Coke finally comes off the board. All right, Florio, your last pick.
Coke is Malik Willis of this draft. I was gonna take soda here, so Troy sniped me again. And to be honest, most of the stuff that I drink has all been drafted already. So I'm gonna go with the boring pick here, but I'm not a coffee drinker, but I do like tea. So I like when I get sick or if it's cold. Marcus knows it drops below 60 here. That's considered cold. Me and Nicolette are breaking out the tea when that happens. So I will go with a boring pick here. Again, it's more of a foundation pick, but I'll go with tea there.
I mean, hey, look, Troy lives in Orlando. He knows how that works. Like it gets.
Under 60, 50s is, and look, I might have to bring out the jacket. Cold.
All right, so I get the final pick, and after a lot of thought, like I really had to kind of go down the board a little bit, but I'm gonna just take a good old fashioned milkshake.
Ooh,
That's a good one.
That's better than my pick.
I prefer, I prefer chocolate,
like
but whatever your flavor is, right? Vanilla, strawberry, whatever, swirls, black and whites, all good. Just it's like, and I don't have them very often. It's one. Here's how you know a drink is like really good but not popular is that if you order fast food with a group of people, inevitably one person in your group will say, I'll have a milkshake. And I guarantee you one other person in that group will be like, ooh, you know what? I'll have a milkshake too. Like you will change some minds just by ordering a milkshake. So yeah. So there you go. I will finish out the draft with a milkshake. So I'll put these up. Go ahead.
I will admit, I think I had the worst draft. You guys, your picks were way better than mine.
When you have water and tea, it's hard. Yeah, we're gonna be.
But you know what? Here's the thing. Florio's gonna by far be the most hydrated out of all of us, right? Between iced tea, Gatorade, water, he will by far be the most hydrated. So like, while we're all sort of like doubled over at brunch,
you're gonna be having more fun though.
So. So all right, yeah.
Sober fun.
I'll put these up. I'll put these up on the Twitter machine and let people vote as to who they think had the best draft.
I'm gonna guess I get under 20% of this.
We'll find out. Troy, man, it's been fun. We appreciate having you on the show. For folks who don't know, where can they find your stuff, man?
Of course, you can find me at T King Mode pretty much on all social media platforms. My home base is Twitter, but you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. But Twitter's my home base, and you can find me in season contributing to Yahoo, off season and in season. You can see me contributing to Football Guys. On Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m., I'm one of the co-hosts of the Mailbag Show over at Football Guys. So make sure you check that out. And yeah, I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, man, it was a whole lot of fun. We'll have to do it again at some point. And at one point, Troy, at some point, we are going to meet in person. We will meet face to face.
Listen, if you guys are going to the expo,
you know what?
I got to figure that out.
We're working on that. We are working on that. Hopefully, I will know something in the near future. And when I know, I'll let you know. So. There you go.
That sounds good.
All right. Hey, for everybody else, though, we appreciate you listening. That'll do it for this edition of the NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. Stay happy, safe, and healthy. Do good and live well. Please take care of yourselves out there. And we will talk to you next week.